It was a cold night in 2025 in an old neighborhood of Gary, Indiana, when the Ammons family first felt that their house was no longer just a house. People often say that listening to this story before sleep is a mistake because every moment leaves you wanting to hear what happens next. That night, the air felt strange, swirling around the house like it had a life of its own. The walls seemed to breathe, and from them came whispers, faint, cold, and chilling. Latoya Ammons told her children to go to sleep, but there was fear in their eyes, a fear that seemed to come from something unseen, watching them. The youngest boy lay on his bed, and suddenly he started laughing. It wasn't ordinary laughter, it was a laughter that came without reason, soft at first and then twisting into frantic crying. Latoya felt a chill run through her body. She thought maybe he was dreaming, but as the laughter deepened, morphing into a low growl, the room went dark on its own. The lights flickered and then went out completely, leaving the room drenched in shadow. The next morning, strange black marks appeared near the doors, like someone had clawed the floor with bare hands. The children spoke of shadows that moved inside their rooms, climbing the walls in ways that seemed impossible. Latoya tried to dismiss it as imagination, but that evening, the bathroom faucet began running on its own. She approached the mirror and saw her reflection smiling at her, but she wasn't smiling. Her reflection moved independently, mocking her. Days passed, and the house grew heavier with a strange, oppressive presence. Sometimes the kitchen doors slammed shut without anyone touching them. Other times, footsteps echoed from the attic above. At night, when everyone was asleep, the sound of walking passed through the hall as if someone was pacing silently. One night, gathering all her courage, Latoya opened a door and saw her youngest son hovering slightly above the ground. His eyes were turned upward, staring at something invisible. A voice seemed to speak from within the house itself, saying that the house was no longer theirs. Doctors and social workers came, but even they witnessed things that were hard to describe. A social worker wrote in his report that he saw the child walking backward, pressing against the wall as if gravity no longer applied. Everyone in that room felt the sensation of a presence communicating directly with their minds, a chilling message that this house did not belong to them anymore. By spring of 2025, living inside the house had become unbearable. Neighbors reported red lights glowing from the windows at night, accompanied by screams that did not sound human. Latoya called both an imam and a priest. Prayers were said, holy water sprinkled, but as soon as they left, the house's anger seemed to intensify. Cracks appeared in the walls, and black dirt began falling from the ceiling of one room, emitting a sulfuric stench. One night was worse than any other. Rain pounded against the roof, lightning illuminated the house, and with each flash, a new face appeared inside. Latoya saw a tall shadow standing at the top of the stairs, its head brushing the ceiling. Its eyes were pitch black, hollow, unseeing, yet full of menace. In a low, echoing voice, it said that the house had opened in 2025 and would remain trapped here forever. The children were immediately taken out of the house. Latoya turned back once, looking at the home she had lived in, only to see claw marks on the door frame reappear, as if someone inside was stopping her from leaving. The police heard strange noises at night, radios went to static on their own, and one officer swore he saw a shadow passing over his car. The house was abandoned, but the story did not end there. By the end of 2025, passers-by reported that their phone batteries would suddenly drain, and they could hear faint whispers, like a name being called. Anyone who paused to look at the house would feel a presence, and from behind the windows, it seemed as if someone was standing, watching, smiling, waiting for the next person to become a part of the story. Every night in that house seemed alive. Cold winds circulated through empty rooms. Shadows clung to corners, twisting and stretching in impossible ways. Furniture moved subtly on its own, as though something invisible was testing boundaries. Latoya noticed objects changing position from one moment to the next, sometimes in impossible ways. Books on shelves toppled without cause, doors creaked and opened without wind, and sometimes, it felt like the house was breathing. The children would wake screaming, pointing at empty corners. Their small voices told of figures that disappeared when approached, laughter that didn't belong to any human, and hands that seemed to brush past them without touch. Latoya herself felt watched constantly, the sensation of being stalked by a presence that knew every thought, every fear. Attempts to cleanse the house with holy rituals only seemed to anger it further. The sulfuric smell returned stronger, and the black dirt continued to fall from the ceiling. The shadows became more defined, forming shapes that resembled human figures, yet distorted, grotesque, and impossible. At night, the house would echo with a chorus of whispers, murmuring threats, promises, and warnings. Even the outside of the house reflected the growing malevolence. Windows seemed to capture light in unnatural ways, glowing red or reflecting images that weren't there. Passers-by claimed to hear footsteps on the porch or see shapes moving behind curtains, even when no one was inside. Electrical devices malfunctioned in proximity to the house, phones, radios, even car electronics, further proof of its power over the environment. Latoya and her children were subjected to repeated terrifying encounters. She would awaken to find footprints in the snow outside the windows that led nowhere. Objects would fly across rooms. Her children spoke of voices instructing them to do things, whispers that they couldn't understand but instinctively feared. Each encounter left them increasingly shaken, their nights filled with restless sleep and growing dread. The house seemed to anticipate human reactions. It responded to fear, amplifying shadows, distorting sounds, and creating illusions so vivid that even skeptical adults questioned their senses. People outside felt the pull of the house, an unnatural gravity that drew attention, curiosity, and terror. By the time the Ammons family left, the house had claimed its dominance. Even abandoned, it exerted influence. Locals reported feelings of unease, electronics failing, and seeing dark figures peering from windows. Some would claim the whispers carried names, perhaps calling for the next inhabitants, luring them into a nightmare. The legend of the house became a warning: never enter, never linger, never look too long. The shadows, the whispers, the black marks, and the floating child, all remained etched in memory. Every night, as the wind howls past the empty structure, one can imagine the house waiting, patient, and hungry for attention, its presence a constant reminder that some homes are more than walls and roofs. They are living horrors, existing beyond the natural world. The story of the Ammons house in Gary, Indiana, in 2025, is more than a tale, it is a testament to the unknown. A place where shadows speak, where light bends, and where children's laughter becomes something entirely unrecognizable. A place where every visitor risks being drawn into its grasp. Caught between the real and the supernatural, forced to confront the horror that refuses to be ignored. And even now, if someone passes by that house, standing still to look, they might feel a gaze, a cold presence pressing through their mind, and they might see, just for a moment, a figure behind the window, smiling, waiting. Waiting for the next chapter, the next victim, the next story to become part of the house's unending nightmare.